State Assemblymember David Chiu is making history. He was appointed to be San Francisco's first Asian American city attorney. Assemblymember Chiu joins us now. Assemblymember Chiu, I just want to start off by saying congratulations on the appointment.
Thank you so much.
Now, it's been a day since Mayor Breed's announcement. Are you still hyped up, or has the excitement kind of died down a bit?
Oh, I'm so grateful and humbled at this new opportunity to serve. As a longtime public interest attorney and as a lawmaker, the opportunity to continue to fight for justice as our next city attorney, I'm really looking forward to it. Dennis Herrera, who has served our city for the past 20 years, has done so much, and he really built the gold standard of public law offices in our country, and really want to salute his work and look forward to the work to come.
Having an appointment like this is obviously very important, but another major aspect of this is that you are going to be the first Asian American to serve as San Francisco's city attorney. How does that make you feel? Do you feel a little bit of added pressure because of it, or are you just kind of ready to take it on?
Well, it does weigh on my shoulders, and I think about the history of Asian Americans in our city and in our country, as well as the fact that during the last year and a half, our Asian American communities have gone through so much, not just pandemic and recession, but skyrocketing levels of anti-Asian violence, and really all of our obligations as public servants to address that. I got my start in part in activism because of an anti-Asian hate incident, and I think a lot about that during these days.
As an assembly member, you obviously have a platform as the city attorney. It's another platform to use. I do know that the San Francisco City Attorney's Office doesn't really prosecute crimes, but will you be using your position as a San Francisco City Attorney to address the problem and answering to the AAPI community? I understand that you obviously represent that community, but is there anything that you can do or that you plan to do in your role as city attorney to kind of fight what's been going on in that community?
Well, as a former civil rights attorney, I'm very interested in how this office can really fight for all of our collective civil rights. And in the wake of anti-Asian hate or Black Lives Matter or the Me Too era, I think it's incumbent on this office to stand up for the values of San Francisco. I also want this office to really look at opportunities to use the role of the law to move forward on the pressing issues of the day, whether it be public safety issues or homelessness or the existential climate crisis. These are all issues that our current city attorney, Dennis Herrera, did so much in, and is certainly a tradition that I want to continue.
Now, you have served in the Assembly for 7 years. The outgoing city attorney, as you mentioned, City Attorney Dennis Herrera, has been at his job for more than 20 years. That is a pretty big shoe to fill. Are you nervous?
You know, Dennis Herrera did such a good job of leading this office, and I do have big shoes to fill. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to bringing my experience of the past 13 years as a state and local lawmaker, as a former criminal prosecutor, as someone who used to work on constitutional issues in our United States Senate. There are so many issues at hand, and particularly at this moment when around the country, rights that we've taken for granted are at risk: voting rights, the right to choose, healthcare. San Francisco, this office has stood up time after time to defend these rights, and I look forward to continuing that work.
Now, the political shuffle, of course, stems from a corruption investigation involving several city officials, including the former general manager of the city's Public Utilities Commission. Herrera had launched an independent investigation into that. Will you be taking over, or will you be continuing, rather, when you take over?
That investigation is ongoing, and I absolutely will continue it. You know, the events of the past year have impacted people's trust in city government, has tarnished it. And from my perspective, we need to hold city government to the highest ethical standards. And I believe that continuing investigation to make sure that we are rooting out any corruption that may still exist is important to really elevating that trust.
And the first 100 days in any political office, those are the days that a lot of people just kind of keep their eyes on. What are your priorities, whether it's tasks or anything else that you plan to tackle in those first 100 days?
Well, I've shared my interest interest in making sure that this office continues to stand up for the civil rights of everyone in our community, and also making sure we're addressing the pressing problems of the day. I also want to mention that this is an office that historically, and I think into the future, particularly during this era of inequality, should be protecting workers, standing up for consumers, as well as holding corporations accountable when they cross the line. And that's certainly a focus that I'm interested in as well.
Well, Assemblymember Chiu, we wish you a huge congratulations, and we're looking forward to seeing the changes that you'll be bringing to San Francisco once you fill that role. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, thanks for having me on.
Now, Assemblymember Chiu was a San Francisco supervisor before serving in the state assembly. Once he begins his new role, Governor Newsom will call a special election to be held within 140 days to fill Chiu's assembly seat.